Now, is it about being in the moment 100% of the time? No. It's got nothing to do with that. Even though some of you have been told by acting teachers that unless you are in the moment 100% of the time, you're a bad actor. Any moment that you fall short of this state of perfection, you actually don't know what you're doing. It's not about that. It's about having a way when you fall out of the moment, because if you're doing a play in the theater, you hear somebody in the audience cough, or somebody in the front row is falling asleep and you happen to notice it. Or if you're on set and you happen to glance over at the script supervisor and she or he is picking their nose. Whatever it is that, and there are a myriad number of ways that you can be pulled out of the moment all the time, right? It's an endless amount of things that can break your concentration. So if you think about it in that way, putting a tyranny on your shoulders of being in the moment 100% of the time means that you're almost guaranteeing that you're going to fail. And you're going to feel bad about your work. So instead, what this approach will help you do is A, be in the moment more consistently. Secondly, it will help you move back into the stream of being in the moment effortlessly. That much, without sounding like a used car salesman, I can guarantee you. I can't guarantee that you'll be in the moment 90% of the time, but I can guarantee that you'll have a way to be able to flow back into the moment. One of the things that is tricky about today is that I'm going to be throwing a lot of information at you. You won't be able to absorb it all at once. It's the beginning of maybe looking at things in a slightly different way. About 15 years ago, as I said, this is where I began to develop this. And one of the things I do in my classes is what I call stretch work, which is working on areas of people's range that they have difficulty getting to. And I use very highly structured improvisational work to begin to develop and enable people to begin to work on that. And what I would find is a really interesting thing, is that the actors would be doing this very highly structured improvisational work where I provide a very strong backstory, and basically people are playing a moment in time, essentially. So there's a kind of spontaneity and a kind of in-the-moment reality, because A, there isn't a script, but B, even in the improvisational setting, they're not trying to arc to a particular conclusion. You're literally playing a moment in time, and it's enabling you to work on whatever it is that you and I have chosen that you should work on. And a very interesting thing would start to happen. There would be a kind of freedom and spontaneity in most people's work that was really wonderful to witness. Some amazing moments would come from this. People would make really, really interesting discoveries. Then I would give the same actor a piece of text, and something would start to freeze up. That sense of playfulness, that sense of liberation, that sense of freedom in the work, which, if you all think about it, is why you got into this in the first place, went out the window. Not completely, but it just wasn't the same. They felt it, I felt it. So I asked, and this was in my classes in my studio in San Francisco, I said to people, okay, so why is this happening? Let's look at this. How much are you in the moment when you're working with text? In the same way that you are when you're doing what I call the stretch work. And the very interesting thing happened initially. The interesting thing that happened initially is that people didn't want to do what you just did when I said 40%, raise your hands. I think the reason that you felt comfortable doing it is because this is a workshop in how to do it more consistently. So you are putting a certain amount of trust in me to admit to yourselves something that probably a lot of you are actually afraid to admit, which is how little you're in the moment often when you're working, relatively. So I had to say to my class in San Francisco, we're all professional actors in San Francisco, I had to say to them, now look, and I didn't have the approach at that point, so I couldn't guarantee this. I said, if I could find a way for you to be more in the moment with text, what would you do? Would you be willing to sort of admit, A, how little you're in the moment? Because because it would be really good to know this. The reason people don't like to admit it to themselves is because you have set it up as such a thing, such a high standard that you feel you should be reaching. And if you acknowledge, as most of you did, that it was 30 to 40% of the time, which is about the average, by the way, then you're going, that means that 70 to 60% of the time I'm not having that experience. So I began to look at it, interestingly enough, is what is it that people are doing in the stretch work? Come on back. What is it that people are doing in the stretch work that they're not doing when they have text?